Firstly, I want to thank you, all of you, to come to IRCAM for these 3 days. We are really, really welcome and really pleased to have you there. Now we are pushing, since Christoph gave me an icon keyboard I just used the icon for the first time, a few weeks ago. And now I try to push different composers at IRCAM to use it. And okay, the thing that I'm going to do today is just to show you what we are doing, IRCAM is an institute of research linked to audio. Certainly the only one institute worldwide when you have a collaboration between artists and scientists. And the scientist is creating a new engine, the artist is testing it, coming back with the bugs and coming back with the remarks and everything, and back to the science coming back to the artist, etc., etc. Then that's the reason why we have a certain amount of, the level of the quality of the engine is quite high, just because we are working on this since 20 years. Now we are going to, I'm just going to make a quick tour of what we are doing. Okay, the first thing, we have a process, and any industry wants to have this process. We have the research process first, then to create an engine. Then after that, we create a prototype, normally made by Max and created on Max. It's just, Max was created at the IRCAM in 1980 something. With David Zefricarelli, and we are, a lot of people here are using Max as a prototype system. Then after that, linked to the Max patch, we are creating a technology code, let's say something that we can license, and after that we can sell this technology to the industry for different kind of industries. That's what I'm going to show you today. For the moment, we have 4 main points at the IRCAM. The first one is spatialization, and we really work since 20 years about the 3D sounds and how we can change the way to mix, how we can change the way to perform on stage to make an immersive situation, and we are working a lot on that. Second thing, that we are working a lot on vocal synthesis. We try to make the best, let's say, vocal synthesis that we can have on the market. It's quite difficult anyway, and I'm going to show you a few things about that. The third point is what we call audio descripteurs. That means that now we are able to describe the content of the music. It's compared to Genius that you have on Apple systems, and you buy this song, and an algorithm is going to recommend a few things. And now we work on how making recommendations with musical data, like the key, the genre, the mood, the tempo, the percussivity index, etc., that I'm going to show you. And we have a third point that we call synthesis. And especially for you, but you have an amazing audio system and synthesizer in IRCAM, and I don't know how we can collaborate together, but we have something in the same kind named Modalis. I try to push 2 developers at IRCAM to create a Modalis patch between IRCAM and Modalis, but we are going to work on that in the next few weeks. Okay, now, okay, then the first thing is vocal synthesis. This is what we call identity converter. Then this film was a black and white movie shot in 1947, I think, something like that, and it was mute, no voice. But we know perfectly the voice of Mr. Pétain. Then we recreate a corpus and we remade the voice because we know exactly what was the text, because the text was wrote during the process. And we recreate that, and now we are going to listen to this. Okay, back to Pétain. Okay, then we recreate, just listen to that.
Je ne répondrai à aucune question. Mes défenseurs ont reçu de moi la mission de répondre à des accusations qui veulent me salir et qui n'atteignent que ceux qui les profèrent.
And what was interesting in this special case, then we have to create a voice linked to the pictures. Then the pictures were the 1946 pictures, and we have to make the same kind of voice. That's why you have all this kind of noisy stuff. It's not an artifact. It's we want to have this kind of voice. Then how it works?
J'ai rencontré jeudi dernier.
We create a corpus of voices coming from the original actors and Mr. Pétain, and we take different speech and everything. After that, we take
Je
an
ne
actor,
répondrai à aucune question.
and the actor is making the text that we want to have, and after that, the machine is going to replace every phoneme from the actor to the original point, and that's the result.
Je ne répondrai à aucune question.
Okay, then the machine recreates automatically the voice linked to the original corpus and said by the guys. And I can create a Merkel voice, and you can say what you want. That's the reason why a lot of people are quite scared about this technology. We made that for Marilyn Monroe, same example.
Heavy curtains tied back with a sash. 4 red apples in a transparent glass bowl. And a few magazines on a walnut coffee table.
That's another kind of example. And we worked on the text-to-speech. Then we really want to create a new engine able to read all the messages and text that you have on your iPhone. Then let's say then you want to read an article from le journal Le Monde, and suddenly we can have this machine reading for you. I mean, making the process and send you the file.
Il était une fois une petite fille de village, la plus jolie qu'on eût su voir. Sa mère en était folle, et sa mère grand plus folle encore.
This was done, and the original thing was a text. Was not a recording on any transformation. It was just a text, and that's really interesting to. When the wife of these actors, of these French actors, when the wife listened to the voice, and she recognized her husband anyway. But when the actor came and listened to what we did, he said, "Okay, that's my voice, but I am an actor that I'm never going to say it like this." Then we don't manipulate, the way how to do it. We have
Once upon a midnight dreary.
The same kind of things, and we have what we call cross synthesis, and you have 2 original. Okay, and
Once upon a midnight dreary.
okay, then really interesting for the cinema business, video games, and etc. That's something. That's another part of the vocal synthesis department. That's what we call voice casting. Then I don't know. In Germany, you have subtitles, or do you have people talking and making ADR? Then the thing is, when we receive some movie from America, the people have a certain voice. Then when you arrive and when you listen to the French version, you can cry because it's awful. Then we create this machine especially for Dubbing Brother, one of the biggest dub company. Then the idea is you put the original voice of the actors, for the American or what you want, and then the machine is going to give you all the French actors with a similar voice.
So wie es die göttliche Aurelia an Nevarra geschrieben hatte. Nur die Reumütigen werden die Liebe des Erbauers zurückgewinnen.
Then now we search.
Ça ne mène nulle part. On devrait peut-être regarder.
J'ai une faille de sécurité potentielle.
Malgré les dégâts, on voit que cet endroit était majestueux.
Meine Mutter liegt in den Wehen. Das Kind kommt zu früh. Kann ihr jemand helfen?
Let's find some kids.
Des soldats guettent! Ce n'est pas le moment de se faire piéger!
Okay, that's the idea. One more time, we are taking care of the spectral voice, but we are not taking care of the quality of the acting. This is something else. It's how we can describe short sounds. You all have around you a sound library, and after 10 years of work in this music business, your sound library is so big that you don't know where is this sound that you used in 1975. Then this is the machine that we create. It's named CatArt. Then we index all the sounds that you have in your library, and after that, just by... No, thank you. He wants to make a demo. And then you can directly organize all the sounds that you have in your sound library and find it easily. Then you move in the percussion sound. Then more you're going on the right than you're on the cymbal, the bass drum, going up to the... And then after that you just have an axe and you just have a matrix and you can choose the sound. Then it's really interesting for post-production, for all the people making, having a non-normal sound library, and they want to have, let's say, train sounds, and bloom, 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 they can manipulate and find the sound really quickly. Another dimension of the vocal synthesis is the voice and the singing voice. You heard the speaking voice, and now let's go to the singing voice. And the first thing was to try to recreate a digital voice, and so the first example. Perfectly in tune, that's the interest for the high notes, and you don't have to make overdubs on it. Another kind of things, it's what we call choir synthesis, and now we try to, this guy is an opera singer, and he's just in front of the microphone and in front of Kleenex. Then when you are going to see his hand like this, it's just a mono voice, then you have 10 women, and then you have 10 women plus 10 men. And the machine is making the harmonization by himself. Then the choir that you are going to listen is done automatically by the machine. He was amazed anyway, That was the first time. And he's composing something for 4 choirs, and each choir is going to have the machine, that you are going to have something like 80 choirs singing in real time. Now let's go to what we call the descripteurs. On the left here, you see all the metadata that you receive on a song, on a classical song, like the name of the artist, the name of the title, the album, the year, etc., etc. And that's what we create with the descriptors. Then we found the melody, the chord, the tempo, the metric, the index of percussivity, the complexity index of is that a disco, or is it a kind of samba rhythm? We can find some of the main instrumentation, like drums or not drums, piano, solo piano, all this kind of stuff, if you have brass in the songs or choirs, etc. The vocal qualities, if it's an instrumental or vocal songs, and sometimes we can find if it's a man or woman, but we have a lot of artifacts on this case. Klaus Nomi is not on the man. And we have the music genre and the music moods. And the interest of that is just to create a data bank and a database with all the musical parameters that you can add to all the parameters that you can have on iTunes. Then suddenly you can create another way of making music recommendation. Then I just have a quick example. Let's say that you type the Beatles and you have all the album, but by the fact that we take the key, then we can say, okay, I want a key from the Beatles with a J, A minor, and F. And boom, done. Ploof. And then now you have the machine is only going to play the song with these 4 chords.
And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking.
Okay, that's another kind of game. We work on the sound design. That's a real interesting activity at IRCAM because it's the first time that you can really process a duet between a scientist and an artist. Then we work for Renault since now 6 or 7 years. Then we are creating all the sounds that they need in this new format of electric cars. Then we make the sound for the outside. Then now you heard the sounds coming from IRCAM. And each time when you are going to see a Renault, you are going to think about us. And we make all the beep inside the car too. We design the sounds to, when you listen to it, you just know what's going on. If it's just a security alert, or if it's a serious alert that you have to stop immediately, then we make a scale of how the sounds should, how the people could react to that. Then I'm going to show you this. That's the sound that we create for this concept car. Sound is changing by the speed of the car, and you have another sound when the machine is stopped. interesting that finally, 30 years later, when people think about electric cars, they think about the same noise that we have in Star Wars 35 years ago. It's more like a spaceship sound, you know. Another kind, we work on object and on the gestural stuff, and how people and how artists, dancers, artists can play with their arms. And depending of your gesture, you are creating different sounds. Okay. Then we work on that. Okay, then I'm going to the next thing just to try to go quickly. Then we move this technology on the portable. Now you have a lot of people able to do that. We did it for Eric last year. Then we create a special deep forest jungles, and every people was able to play with the sound in real time. And more, you can change the pitch if you turn the telephone, etc., etc. Okay. Another example. This is more interesting. That at the beginning of the talk, I was talking about how the research can go to the industry. This is the results, and we sell this technology to an English company named Moody's, and that's what they did with the same technologies. And they transform any object in an instrument. Then you don't have any keyboards, but you can create songs. Then how it works, it's just the fact that the machine is able to recognize what kind of gesture you are doing, this, or just scratching, or doing this, etc. And then you can affect any sounds to any gesture. And then the machine is making the sound and creating the sound. Then we have, Eric, you remember that? Then every people, can play together and they can create, different sounds. I'm passing this. I try to go quickly because I know that we have to. Then another kind of example, if you want to make music with your friend. Then each telephone is going to be connected to a different interface.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a. Buddy, you're a boy, make a. Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place. We will rock you. Sing it.
And that's another kind of example for kids, let's say. Another activity that now we create since 10 years now, it's to push the technology was in research at the IRCAM on the market. Then we make a collaboration with Flux, and we create a collection named IRCAM Tools. We have it was quite interesting to promote finally the IRCAM technology through these collections. We make, the last product that we create is a SPAT Revolution. It's a 3D object, then you can mix in 3D. Here we have 4 speakers. But you have one room on Studio One, maybe you can pass by maybe tomorrow. And you have 22 different speakers. Then you have the vertical dimension. Then you can mix. For the cinema, it's really interesting. You can have the birds on top and you can have the footsteps on the floor. That's another kind of. we made IRCAM Max collection. Is more like what I talked about, the prototype. Then we are creating a collection of prototype with different technologies, and we make a collection 1 with Super VP, and we make a collection 2 with other technology coming from IRCAM. We create now what we call an IRCAM Lab. That's something that I want to, to go quickly. I just want to show you that in real time. That's really interesting for all IRCAM users. This machine doesn't make any analysis. It just shows you what is the content of the sound, then the main frequency plus all the content of the harmonics in the sound. Then when you are playing with IRCAM, you know exactly if you are in tune and how the sound is complex. And I'm going to show you that in real time. That our other product, and we make the first product on iOS this year. That it was a revolution at the IRCAM to make product for the iOS platform. Thanks a lot. And I'm going now to show you this. Any question before the things push?
Just what are you doing with VR?
Alors, VR, we need the SPAT. We are working with Ubisoft at the moment. We work with Gameloft, but it's more difficult because they are making games only online. But with Ubisoft, it's more interesting to. We need different collaboration. Firstly, we need a collaboration with a video game company. And after that, we need to have a collaboration with an headphone company because we need to track people. Then, for sure, we are working on that. And we want, because I went to the VR days in Amsterdam in June, and now we make the connection with Unity, just to be sure that all the developers working on VR and any kind of VR activities then can use the SPAT and can listen to the SPAT. Yes?
Is there going to be a 64-bit update for the collaboration that IRCAM has done with Arturia with the brass product?
Alors, let's say then, with Arturia, it was not a so good experience. He tried to use Modalis, but the problem that we had, and Frederick Rousseau was really upset that he wants to have a saxophone. And it's certainly one of the most difficult instruments to reproduce with this kind of synthesis. But now we want to push Modalis, but in a different way, in an original way. We don't want to use Modalis to copy any kind, to have the wind sections and blah, 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 blah. That's certainly interesting, but it's too much work. And finally, you have a lot of instruments making this at the moment, and we don't have any points to fight on that. And on top of this, each time when we're making something new, we want to create a new approach. Okay, then that's why we work on Modalis, and I'm sure then when Modalis is going to be connected to the icon, we are going to discover another kind of way how to use Modalis anyway.
And 30 years ago, the VL1 from Yamaha was much better than the Arturia version.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Voilà. Okay, then I take an icon sound. Then you can see immediately, alors, I'm going to phrase it. Then what you can see is the main form is the fundamental, where you are perfectly in tune if the thing is on the line and crossing the line in the middle, that you are absolutely in tune. And after that, if you are making a circle, you arrive to harmonic 2. If you are going to another circle, you arrive to harmonic 3, then 4, then 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then you can have a visions of the contents, the harmonic contents of your sound. And that's a really interesting thing for education, let's say. Then you have this view. Then another thing that I show you is that we are on the tuning mode. Then you have the note, okay, the machine is detecting the note, and if this green stuff doesn't move, that means you have absolutely in tune. No doubt on that. You have another vision like this. And you have here, you can see how the phase is in the sound and in each harmonic. You have different kind of visualization. the simple one. And I love to have this in your interface. You know, just people are playing and they just see how the sound is done and they just can play. You have a lot, we went to the Synthèse 2 weeks ago and people was playing with the theremin. And then that's a beautiful instrument for the theremin because the theremin is so difficult to be in tune. Another guy was playing a musical solo and that's the same thing. You know, then suddenly you know if you are perfectly in tune or not. And this is the snare, and you have it on all the format, Mac, PC, etc., etc., etc. And that's something that, for me, was interesting for IRCAM. The other thing that I want to show you. Okay, let's go to. Okay, then we have, I'm going to show you a voice modifier that we call tracks. It's done with a friends. Where is this? Okay, this guy, maybe you know him, he's a French TV. I mean, he was sacked last year. I have to change, I have to update my film and make a new one. Okay, this is tracks. It's an IRCAM tool that it's interesting stuff. The engine is named Super VP, and this you have what we call the voice processing, and mean voice forger. Then I can transform it as a girl.
Parmi les propositions qu'elle doit entériner, il y a la norme BBC, bâtiment basse consommation. Il s'agit de réduire la consommation d'énergie dans l'habitant,
notamment grâce à l'isolation. Voici ce que serait un logement modèle.
Okay, I can block the Glottis.
J'affirme que la loi Grenelle 2 doit être votée parmi les propositions qu'elle doit entériner.
La norme BBC.
I mean, every human has, let's say, a voice print. The way how you saying a phrase, the melodies that you are using. But we can
que la loi Grenelle 2 doit être votée. Parmi les propositions qu'elle doit entériner, il y a la norme BBC, bâtiment basse consommation. Il s'agit de réduire la consommation d'énergie dans l'habitat, notamment grâce à l'isolation. Voici ce que serait un logement modèle. Reportage Perrine Bonnet, Alexis Jacquet. La main que la loi Grenelle 2 doit être votée.
Okay. This is a lot of people are using that for the cinema. They make some voice with that for the Last Superman. They make the bad mode.
Main que la loi Grenelle 2 doit être votée par.
I can go there.
Que la loi Grenelle 2 doit être votée. Parmi les propositions qu'elle doit entériner, il y a la norme BBC, bâtiment basse consommation. Il s'agit de réduire la consommation des...
And what is interesting, you can still understand the text. Then we don't have a lot of artifacts on this technology. And this is really, that's an interesting stuff. I think that I make the tour. I'm good, 26 minutes.
How's the development coming with AudioScope? Are you still supporting AudioScope?
AudioScope, what that?
Yeah, AudioScope.
Audioscope.
Ah, AudioScope, sorry. Alors, allez, I'm going to be cool. Then, you know AudioScope?
Yes,
okay.
I used to be a subscriber back in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then you know all the bugs. Sorry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sorry for that. I just show you that it's not finished. It's under the development at the moment, but it's going to be the new one, the new AudioScope. We completely redesigned the interface, and now you are going to be able to make some cut and paste, duplicate stuff. You are going to have the multiple things for all the automation that you are going to be able to modify, even where is that? Allez. Even with the pencils, then you are going to be able to manipulate that. Even if you are going on the multi-staff, you are going to be able to manipulate. You are going to have the analysis menu now, okay, on right. This is going to be the calculation for the sonogram. You are going to have a bit detector, and IRCAM bit is going to be inside, and the denoiser.
Yes.
That's for the, I call audio sculpt light. Yes. Okay. You are going to have all the BPF, etc., etc., etc. And you have, after that, all the treatment. Okay, then Super VP. You are going to have able to make the automation of the parameters that you wish. Okay, just to design it. You are going to have the markers, plus now some view meters about with different format, even the mid-side. Something interesting that we have at IRCAM, we have this special staff, what we call remix. It's really interesting. I can take off. That's a real machine. I mean, I love to imagine the sound as it's kind of plastic stuff that you can manipulate and transform. Then it's really interesting to do that. Then we try to push. You are going to have this new version. This version normally at the end of this year, and the other one with the full option with all the filters and all the stuff that you have on Audio Sculpt is going to be a year later.
Okay, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I mean. The first Audio Sculpt was done by Pinochet about the interface. You can die on this interface. Yeah. And then one of my main requests was to really make something useful, easy to use. On top of this, all the windows, you can open all the windows and have it on a separate screen. And you can resize it even for the, even for the meters. Then you can completely change, the way how you want to manipulate stuff. View meters, cut and paste. A lot of people, can you imagine that IRCAM we make the first cut and paste process in 2017? And after that, they call us, the Institute of Research. But anyway, now it's going to be on the market, and we try to make something more interesting. And on top of this, I want to fight with Isotope. I mean, Audio Sculpt was existing something like 15 years before Isotope and the RX and everything. And Isotope arrived and they just pass, and they don't have any concurrent on the market. Then now we are going to play with them a little bit. That's, and this is a, don't talk about it. It's not finished.
Secret.
I mean, nobody knows that. Well, this is, in general. Do you have any question about IRCAM or?
One question. How many years before I can sing something with my bad voice that's a little out of tune into a processor that I can tweak a little bit and a beautiful voice will come out that... no, I'm serious, probably 5 years maybe?
Alors, we work on that. We work on the vocal synthesis because it's really more difficult to create a vocal voice and a speaking voice. Because there's, any letters or any voyelle, let's say R, can be short, long, tuning, blah, 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 blah. It's quite difficult. But we work on that. We work on a process, what we call chanter. We have some example. We start to make some voices, but for the moment the result is not so good. That means I'm not sure that the result that we have is going to be better than your original voice. But I mean, we have a lot of artifacts for the moment, but then we work on that. And I think that we're going to have a first kind of Vocaloid IRCAM system in maybe less than 2 years. But after that, it's a long process to program. Then, just between you and me, maybe the best thing is maybe to have a singer teacher. You are going maybe to take less time to have a beautiful voice and waiting for the IRCAM computer system.
But it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay.
So, I'm afraid we're getting a bit late, so we need to set up for Leopold for the next talk.
But you come back when you want.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for hosting. I guess.